Welcome to Let's Talk Pets with your host, Linda Weston, right here on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub.
Good Saturday morning, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Pets, a fun program. Very happy to be part of the fabulous Hub family lineup of programs. I'm Linda Weston, your host from Friends of Cookeville-Putnam County Animals, a nonprofit, totally volunteer support group for the Cookeville-Putnam County Animal Shelter. This morning, my co-host, Sarah Hollick-Webb from Friends of Cookeville-Putnam County Animals, is with me here in the studio, as well as a good friend of ours, master gardener and animal lover, Mrs. Vicky Draper, who is going to talk to us today about planting your very own spring snuffle garden. And for those of you who don't know what that is, she's going to tell you exactly what that is. So, Sarah, before we get started, let's just take a minute and thank our sponsors who make this show possible.
We are grateful to Pet Supplies Plus, located in the Walmart Shopping Center.
And Copeland Veterinary Hospital on 10th Street with 24-hour emergency service.
And Cumberland Pet Essentials, offering pet grooming, styling, and spa, holistic foods, nutritional counseling, and a pet boutique located in the Willow Tree Plaza.
And Friends of Cookeville-Putnam County Animals. So many thanks to each of these groups. So now it is our great pleasure to say good morning and welcome, Vicky, and thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Well, it's always fun to have you here. You know, now that we're starting to enjoy some nice spring weather, and I say that, I mean, I think that we are.
We're getting
Yesterday
there.
was great, right? I think that we will see lots of spring landscaping plants and materials just sort of starting to appear in various places, and people starting to think about getting outside and planting. So today, Sarah and I just really wanted to encourage folks to plant a snuffle garden for their pets to enjoy. So we need to tell you exactly what that is, and the person best to describe it is master gardener, animal lover, Vicky Draper. Vicky, take it away. Tell us what a snuffle garden is.
Well, a snuffle garden can be large or small. It can just be a tiny little corner in your yard. It is a dedicated place for your pets. I find we always think of dogs, but cats like them too. I would provide a place for them to dig that doesn't bother you, and a place for them to sit and just enjoy the breeze and watch the world go by. And also, I would have some plants there that they would enjoy. They love herbs. Actually, I have a neighbor cat who comes to my house every morning. When I open my blinds, I look out and she's always there in my herb patch just sniffing away. She's knocked over a few pots, but she's having a big time.
And you know, I think we have to really focus on how important it is for our pets, like you said, Vicky, cats and dogs, to sniff. We especially see this in dogs. I think there's just been more studies on that, but we know that just your average dog's nose is 100,000 times more powerful than ours. So for them to be able to get out and sniff and take their time and just to have all these different sensory things around them, and it's not only just sniffing, it's touching as well. This is great for their mental well-being and their physical well-being. We were talking right before we came on about how tired our pets seem to be, or how much more tired they seem to be if we take a walk and allow them time to kind of take it leisurely and let them sniff and let them kind of take their time and see what they want to sniff out along the way, rather than if we just took them for a run. That seems like it's just so much more mentally and physically stimulating for them.
You're exactly right. You know, after we had Vicky on the show, I think it was probably last spring, talking about this very thing, I really made a conscious effort to walk my dog a little more leisurely and just really stop when he wanted to stop. Now, sometimes it gets out of control. You're trying to get down the other block, but, you know, they keep stopping every 2 seconds. But it was so fun to sort of watch him. And it was like, oh, one smell led to another and another and another. And so I think you're right. Their sense of smell is so much more intense than ours or even other animals, that it's really important to let them have their time to sniff.
And I think it's great, you know, what Vicky just mentioned, and that, you know, it needs to be a space that's dedicated for your pet, and to allow them a place to dig as well. Because sometimes, you know, sometimes sniffing often leads to digging. It leads to more exploration. And that's what we want our pets to do. We have all kinds, we know there's all kinds of canine enrichment, especially all these puzzle toys and Kong toys and all this fun stuff for them to do. But bottom line, this kind of enrichment, this just sniffing and being outside with lots of, friendly scents and in a friendly, safe environment does as much for their behavior and their physical and emotional well-being as any enrichment toy, any kind of activity that we can do for them.
Well, I like that Vicky brought up a spot for digging too, because I noticed that sometimes, my little guy will take great effort in digging up or, stirring up the ground in a certain little area. And then he likes to just roll in it or lay in it. What's that all about? Except for that I have to give him a bath after that. But,
not only do dogs like to sniff and see, this is how they communicate. Smells is, completely how a dog communicates. They can't talk. So this is how they leave their little trail of breadcrumbs behind. So as you're taking your pet for a walk, you notice they sniff every lamppost, every mailbox,
every tire, every car.
Because every pet along the way, every dog along the way that's had the opportunity has left, a little breadcrumb along the way. And this is, like I said, this is how they communicate with each other. So, Kramer going out there, rolling around in that dirt. That's how he's leaving his scent. He's saying, hey, this is my house, to all the other dogs in the neighborhood.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Well, Vicky, tell us, I think snuffle gardens are a little bit new. Most people, when you say something about a snuffle garden, they say, well, what is that? So where did snuffle gardens come from?
Well, snuffle gardens, to my knowledge, began in Europe, mostly in England. They started there and they've spread across Europe and now to America. And they started in shelters, because a lot of dogs are very, very sad, as I'm sure you know better than I, when they're put in a shelter and they need something to have to release their emotions and to relax. And they found that taking them outside, leaving them alone and letting them go at their own pace and have interesting things to smell and maybe something to climb up on, a place they can dig because they're frustrated or they just want to dig. They found that when they built these little gardens for the dogs and allowed them to go out there 2 or 3 at a time, that they improved in their behavior and they were more adoptable because they were adaptable, I guess.
It's a wonderful thing. And, we're so glad that we are seeing this in shelters. And now we're seeing it and, come across the pond and seeing it more commonly used in larger facilities in America. And this is a great way that's all natural. You don't have to, sometimes the answer isn't medications. Sometimes the answer isn't, trying to drug up your dog. Sometimes the answer is a little bit more simple than that. And, we always want to follow the path of least resistance. And bottom line, this is the healthy way for your pet to get out some of their anxieties. It releases, sniffing for them releases good chemicals like dopamine in our brain. It has a similar effect for dogs and cats as well. So this is a wonderful, all natural way, low hassle that's fun for you and fun for your pet.
Well, let's talk about some of the kinds of plants that would be good for cats or dogs for you to put in your own snuffle garden. So, Vicky, tell us.
Okay. Well, alyssum, blue daisy, Boston fern, bottlebrush tree, camellias, cannas, celosia, Christmas cactus, coreopsis, viola, herbs especially. They love herbs. Gerber daisies, zinnias, impatiens, marigolds, nasturtiums, pampas grass, roses, petunias, sunflowers. Those are all good choices. Now, I learned last year that it was between poisonous and toxic. Some plants are just toxics, which means it won't kill your pet, but it will send you to the vet and cost you a couple of $100. I know that from experience.
Okay.
Aloe, begonia, bird of paradise, calla lilies, carnations, bougainvillea, hydrangea. Most houseplants are not good for cats. Dogs are, especially cats. Chrysanthemums, coleus, cosmos, Dieffenbachia, I think they call that the dumb cane, so that does affect them. Elephant ears, gardenia, geranium, iris, and oleander. Now, these plants are poisonous. Daffodil, castor bean, Easter lily, sago palm is on every list I ever read. Stargazer lily, a tiger lily, cyclamens, which are grown outside in a lot of places, and azaleas. Now, I still plant some of these plants because my dog is old and she doesn't care about plants. She cares about meat. But I would take a lot of, if there's a plant that you're planting something new this year and you don't know whether you should plant it or not, I encourage you to look it up or call your local county agent and find out if it's a safe plant, because chances are if it's not good for your dog and cat, it's probably not going to be good for children either. Can we talk about cocoa mulch too?
Yeah.
Sure.
Cocoa mulch is the big no-no. Even if you go on their website and read that where they're trying to sell cocoa mulch, they will tell you don't use it if you have pets. You're talking about almost instantaneous death if they eat it. So
Because tell us what's in it.
it's caffeine. And it's a high dose, isn't it, Sarah? It's a lot stronger than...
It is. It's, there and the cacao content in the cocoa mulch is also much higher than even what would be in a candy bar. We all know to try and keep our pets away from chocolate. We've been told that over and over because chocolate is toxic, but at this level, it has an incredibly high toxicity and is in fact poisonous at the level that it's infused into the mulch. It's beautiful, and you would think, oh, my dog won't get into it. It's really not worth the risk.
Right.
Or even a child might pick it up.
That's it. You can't be a mind reader, and it's amazing what can go through the mind of a child or an animal when it's something new and different and might have an interesting smell or an interesting texture. So we know that the first place often things go, especially for a kid, is in their mouth, and it's just it's just not. It's like I said, it's lovely, it's beautiful, but certainly not safe for any little ones or pets.
And let's think about pesticides, too, before we spray. And even snail bait that we have to use since it rains so much here, that can be toxic to your pets as well.
Well, if you guys want to see a snuffle garden or a snuffle garden on a grand scale, we'll have one coming up in the fall. Master Gardeners did an incredible display at the fair over the summer, and they're going to come out and do another incredible display for a pet expo in October. And a lot of these plants, are good. They're okay to weather over the winter, and herbs and things like that you can bring inside. They're still great for your pet. They're great for your cat. So think about that in October if you want to see, like I said, a snuffle garden on a grand scale.
Absolutely. And Sarah, one of the things that I thought was so fabulous at the Master Gardener Snuffle Garden at the fair, you all planted herbs and plants in tires, in the center of tires, which makes a lot of sense because you're not going to have your pet digging them up because it's hard to do, but it's perfect for them to reach over and take a sniff or a bite.
Exactly.
Yeah, a bite.
And they had fun climbing up on the tire, too.
Did they?
Yes.
Well, I would imagine especially cats would love that. Well, we've got lots more to talk about because I know you're all really now wanting to get out and do your own snuffle garden. So much more to talk about. We will just take a quick break. Don't go away because we'll be right back with more Let's Talk Pets on News Talk 107.7 and 1400. The Hub.
Copeland Veterinary Hospital is a full-service veterinary hospital, including 24-hour emergency assistance, and is located at 821 East 10th Street in Cookeville, focusing on providing the highest quality care to clients and patients through our devotion to client communication, commitment to excellent medical care, and use of innovative diagnostics. Founded in 1970, our veterinarians and support staff can provide a progressive, beneficial, and effective impact on your pet's health. Open Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., Saturdays from 8 a.m. to noon, and closed on Sunday.
Pet Supplies Plus, located in the Walmart Shopping Center on South Jefferson, is open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily, specializing in pet foods, treats, and edible chews, pet toys, and apparel, pet supplies of all kinds, grooming and health, as well as flea and tick items, offering all major brands and a large selection of natural foods and treats made in the USA. Fish, reptiles, ferrets, and other very small pets available.
Cumberland Pet Essentials has been serving Middle Tennessee since 1989, offering dog and cat grooming and styling. In their natural pet market, they sell dog and cat supplies, accessories, and high-quality trusted brands of food and treats. Owner Karen Rataco is an ISCC certified pet stylist and a certified pet nutritionist. She offers free nutritional counseling, helping owners make healthier choices for their pets. Their store hours are Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5 p.m., located at 142 South Willow Avenue in the Willow Tree Plaza. Give them a a call, 931-528-7711, Cumberland Pet Essentials.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Pets with me, your host, Linda Weston, and Cookeville-Putnam County Animals Vice President Sarah Hollick-Webb on News Talk 107.7 and 1400, The Hub. So Sarah and I have been talking today with our friend Vicky Draper, who is known as a master gardener and animal lover, of course, about creating a Snuffle garden, which is really a garden full of wonderful sniffing opportunities for your pet. So let's just take a little sidetrack here and let's just talk about a wonderful opportunity for people, and that being the Master Gardener program. So Vicky, tell us what that program is and how it works.
Well, every year we offer classes if you want to become a master gardener, or if you're new to the area or new to gardening and want to learn how to get started and find out what plants grow best in this area and how to landscape your yard and how to care for your lawn. Many people take the class every year that never plan to join Master Gardeners. They just want the information, which is great because you always end up being our friend, right, Linda?
That's right. That's me.
It's really good. But if you choose to be a Master Gardener, which we would love for you to be one, you have to complete 40 hours of volunteer service to the community and then join the club. And every year we put in 27 hours, minimum 27 hours of volunteer work, and then 7 hours of education every year to remain a Master Gardener. This year we've got some new interns and our club is up and running. It was a little rough during COVID, of course, like everybody else. But lucky for us, we were working outside so we didn't have to worry so much about germs. This year we're going to have a plant sale.
All right.
We're going to do it a little differently. It's going to be April the 30th from 8 until 2 at the Putnam County Fairgrounds. But this year, we're going to have a pre-sale as well. And there will be a list of plants on our website, which is pcmgtn.org. Just think Putnam County Master Gardener, Tennessee.org.
Perfect. Okay.
And we'll have a list, and you can make out an order, and we can put it in a box, and you can drive up, and we can hand it to you. Easy peasy.
How fun. This is always, the plant sale is wildly well attended.
Yes.
I've been there before. It's wild and crazy. And I think you guys sell out every year.
Mostly. We usually have some peppers left. Evidently.
Yeah, I got the last tomatoes the last time.
The tomatoes are really popular. We have, I don't know, this year, 10 or 15 different varieties. We need some sunshine, though, to get these plants to growing. But this year, we are planting lots of perennials, and a lot of Master Gardeners that are your neighbors have dug up their yards, and you can come by, and the perennials are really the best deal because they cost a little more, but they last forever. And your grandchildren can say, I remember when she planted that, because it will continue to grow. Just like, think about the jonquils and the daffodils right now. They've been there for, you see them at old houses, been there 100 years. Mm-hmm. It's amazing, and they just keep on coming back. So we've got lots of Solomon seal and Shasta daisies and all different kinds of, and hosta. We've got tons of hosta. So we've got it ready for you.
Well, I sort of blame Master Gardeners for getting me involved with the animal shelter.
It's their fault.
Well, I took the Master Gardener class when I first moved here, and just as Vicky said, it is a fabulous class. You learn so much. So during the class, at the end of the class series, I guess I would say, some member of our class stood up and said, for a class project, there's this sort of rundown shelter or a rundown garden at the old animal shelter that an Eagle Scout had started, but it had grown and become overgrown and all this, and I think our class ought to go out and put our hours into reinvigorating this, replanting this garden. So everybody jumped on it. Yeah, let's do that. So we went out, and it wasn't hard in that the labor wasn't hard, but it was hard to make something pretty out of such the mess that it had become. That was the tricky part. But we did. And the shelter director came out and she said, this is great. She said, but I always have wanted pavers out here that people could buy in memory of their pets and engrave the paver and put the pavers in to have kind of a little walking space through the garden area. And so foolishly, I said, well, would you like me to try to do that, to set up that program? And she said yes, but I don't think she really thought I would do it, follow through. But I thought, yeah, that's not that hard. We can do this. So we did. We right away got the pavers underwritten, got them all sold, 250 pavers, right? Well, then we decided there was talk about a new shelter. And, why should we put these great pavers in at this old shelter if we were going to have to dig them up and maybe they would break getting to the new shelter, not knowing that the new shelter would be a 10-year project. So every one of the 250 people who bought the pavers to begin with were so great and so patient. And every so often in the paper, there'd be a question, one of those do you know or do I know questions.
I'd like to know, yeah.
I'd like to know. That's it. About where in the heck are those pavers? So they were stored and they were installed at the new shelter. And they're a very popular spot there. People love to see those, so much so that we're getting ready, Sarah, to install Memory Garden number 2.
Yes, a whole new one, again, kind of spotlighted in the front of our shelter. So it's just another testament of the faith that the community has, put in us for our animal shelter, and the continued support of the master gardeners of the shelter and of Shelter Pets. When we brought forth the idea of the Snuffle Garden to Vicky last year, I'm sure she probably thought we were crazy, but the group jumped on it.
She took that ball and ran with it.
And
it was adorable. I mean, at the fair, it was adorable. And they are going to set up the same thing, as Sarah said, at Pet Expo. And what's going to be really neat is, for Pet Expo, you're able to come with your dog on a leash, of course, and you're able to take your dog through the Snuffle Garden. So that'll be really fun for you to see what your dog is attracted to.
It's great. It's a incredible display, and it's great for that event too, in that there are lots of pets there, and it can be a little high stress. It can get a little noisy. There can be, if your pet's not used to being around a lot of other animals or a lot of other people, even in that kind of busy environment. We're so excited to have the Snuffle Garden at the expo, to have a place where the pets can go decompress, because there'll also be rescue animals there as well that are going to be, have gotten over, they've been transported, they've been in a car, they've been in a crate, and that'll be a great place for them to decompress as well.
Absolutely. Well, you'll be hearing much more about the Pet Expo. It is scheduled for October 16th at Heidelberg's, so it's huge. And you'll be hearing much more about that on this show. And also, we'll be telling you more about the vendors and the different activities and experiences that you can have at Pet Expo. It's
gonna be a great event. It's going to be the second one, and the first one was just a huge success. So we're excited to bring it back this year. I want to jump back to something real quick that we touched on in the first segment, because we didn't get to go very far into it. But Vicky, at the very end of the first segment, we were talking about sprays, fertilizers, things like that. I just wanted to kind of retouch on that, because that's important. We use pesticides that, like Vicky mentioned, the slug and snail granules that we put out, all of that. We need to be very, very well aware of what we're putting out. Certainly, we don't want to use any of these in a Snuffle Garden, but just around our house in general, because, when you let your pet out to use the bathroom, for a walk, whatever it might be, it's their space, and the outdoors is, someplace where you want your pets to enjoy, and you'd want to eliminate as many dangers as possible out there. So fertilizers, pest sprays, the cocoa mulch that we had talked about, all of these are things that you need to kind of keep in mind and read the packaging. Read labels. Labels are going to be your best friend as far as knowing what is good to have around your pets.
Well, you're exactly right. And I would include on that list weed control, weed sprays. I think of that because I see some weeds. Now that we're kind of in spring, I see some of the green
popping
stuff
up,
trying to come up on my gravel walkways. And I think, well, shoot, if I spray and I don't allow enough time for it to dry or, really finish doing its stuff before I let the dog out, he'll walk on it and pick it up on his feet. And then we'll be at the vet.
And pets, be it a cat or a dog, lick their feet.
Right.
And they lick the grass sometimes.
Yep. Oh, they eat the grass. Yes,
exactly.
Exactly. So words to the the cautious. Be careful.
And it's bad for pollinators too, and our bees.
True.
And they travel miles away from where they live in their hives, and so we all need to be cautious about spraying.
There's lots of great ideas online. If you just Google it, natural pest repellents. There's lots of natural things. White vinegar is a good friend of mine around our house. It can keep down weeds. It can keep snakes. It can keep a lot of things away in an all natural way. So make sure and Google it. I'm sure the local extension agents will have lots of great suggestions on things that you can do around your home that are safe for the environment.
Well, we are just about out of time, but I did want to mention this is the time of year when you should really start thinking about re-upping, if your pet needs rabies vax or they need tick and flea meds, stuff like that. So there are a couple of low-cost rabies vaccine clinics that are happening. You just have to kind of Google because they're all through the month of April and May. The ones that I saw that are there are a couple that have already happened, and there's another one coming up. Actually, it's today at Tractor Supply. And there's also today at Boyd Veterinary Clinic on Spring Street, and that's from 8 a.m. to noon. $10, folks. $10 will get your pet a rabies shot. So
these are sponsored. These rabies clinics are sponsored by our local health departments in cooperation with all of our wonderful local vets and care providers for our pets. So we're glad that everyone works in cooperation because it is state law in Tennessee that all cats over 6 months old and all dogs over 3 months old must be vaccinated for rabies. I think sometimes we take for granted and think that rabies is just a word and that it's completely eradicated. But every year we do see several cases of rabies in the state of Tennessee and Middle Tennessee alone in our wildlife. And last year we did have one case that extended over into our pets. So for more information, call the Putnam County Health Department. They'll be able to fill you in on all the other clinics that are coming up at 528-2531.
Something you said just made me think that sometimes I think when we're in a really cold winter or whatever, people think that there's no need for flea and tick medications too. And that's really a year-round deal.
It is. And, we need to keep in mind that although we kind of had a cold, wet, miserable winter, it didn't get cold enough to really eradicate a lot of our pests. Pests, not pets. Pests.
Oops.
So the pesty ticks, fleas, all that sometimes their population can be thinned over the course of a very cold winter or numerous consecutive days of well below freezing temperatures. We really didn't have that this year. We had a lot of rain. It was kind of icky. It was wet and gross, but we certainly didn't get cold enough over an extended period of time. So we expect mosquitoes, fleas, ticks, all that to be out in full force within a couple weeks.
And I noticed the birds are out too. You're seeing a lot more birds right now. So folks, if you have bird feeders, don't forget to sanitize them. And that will help prevent outbreaks of salmonella and other diseases that the wild birds are subject to. So, gosh, lots of stuff going on this spring.
That's it.
That is our show for today, though. Thank you, Vicky. You're always a wonderful guest. We thank you for being with us and thank our listeners for being with us. Folks, if you have any questions or comments, please email them to us at putnamcountypets@gmail.com. We're wishing everyone a perfect weekend and hope you'll join us here next Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 2:30 p.m. on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub.